Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Dead Sports Fantasy Football. I am your host, Kenneth, with the but yeah, I'm your boy, man. It's your boy Ken, man. I'm joined with the folk 30, BZ folk 30. What up, B?
What up? Tell him you. Don't tell him your name is Kenneth. Tell him you a king, man. Say king. Damn it. We from the original. We from the home cradle of civilization, baby. Original man, man. Original man.
Oh man, let me get out of Twitter, man. Some dude is on here saying, "Why didn't I compare the best of the '90s to the best of today?" I think he just missed the whole point. I get what he's saying, and I think that's fair. But the point was about standards and having a set of standards and going from that set of standards onward. Not anyway. If you guys haven't checked out the new Dead and Hip Hop video, is Hip Hop in a Good Place? Check it out, man. It's on the Dead and Hip Hop channel, youtube.com/Dead and Hip Hop. It's 30 minutes, so make sure you guys go there after here, so you guys can get all this fantasy goodness. Man, like if you guys watched the show last night, we did our Colin Kaepernick controversy convo. So make sure you go rewind it back and check that out. In that episode, we talked about Teddy Bridgewater's injury. We also mentioned that we would kind of give a rundown on how that impacts Adrian Peterson from a fantasy perspective. And if you guys are taking Stephon Diggs and Laquan Treadwell late as sleepers, then how does that affect them as well? Also, Tony Romo is hurt and out. Dak Prescott is the starting quarterback now. I was about to say center. Yeah, he's a starting quarterback now. So how does that impact Dez Bryant and Ezekiel Elliott? So, all right, B, let's kick it off, man. Adrian Peterson, man, are you like, when you saw the news about Bridgewater, were you concerned about drafting him?
Yep. And you said this perfectly. And now Peterson kind of go down in the rankings a little bit. Like, we're not saying he's like a 5th rounder pick now, but earlier, before the injury, AP was an easy 1 through 5 draft pick. Now he's like a 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th pick. You can wait to second round, almost early second round, to get AP now, because now you concerns about defense that's going to key in on them. They're going to hound them. They're going to be like, look, AP going, the quarterback's going to have to beat us. We're going to shut AP down. We're going to make sure he get 40 yards and no touchdowns. And in fantasy football world, that's a nightmare. So, that's 4 points, give or take, depending on how your league scoring and stuff. But yeah, man, I completely agree with you when you said that, because I know I saw some people in the chat that were like disagreeing with you big time, saying, well, why AP is dropping? He's still higher than me. I'm like, no, he's not. He kind of goes down a little bit now because, like I said, you got defense keying in on you, and it's gonna make it tougher and tougher for AP to eat. He's gonna eat. He's gonna get his looks and get his touches, which I don't doubt that. But what he's gonna get when he get those touches, is he gonna get 0.5 yards per carry? You know what I'm saying? So it's. I agree with you when you said that, man. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, when I saw it, man, because I was concerned. Like, I wasn't taking Adrian Peterson in the top 5 picks, 6 or 7, honestly. He was typically falling around the 8 through 12 range, and really sometimes 9 through 12.
Yeah.
But when I saw that, I thought like maybe 12th pick. I don't think he, depending on what went before you, is worth a 9th pick. But I think we also have to keep in mind that Adrian Peterson was an animal when he didn't have quarterbacks before.
Right.
And we know they're going to increase his workload because they don't want to put the ball in the hands of Sean King. But we also know that they're going to stack the box. And when Adrian Peterson didn't have quarterbacks in the past, he was younger. So it was, he was more spry. It was easier for him to, shake off blockers or hit a corner or bounce off tacklers. Now at 31, it's not that easy. Plus, I think that they would want to reduce his workload with him being 31 and use Jarrett McKinnon a little bit more. Mm-hmm. So I think the only way I would still, like you said, I would still draft Adrian Peterson. If he fell to me at the last pick of the draft, and I'm drafting 12th or 11th, and he's there, yeah, I'm gonna take it. But I won't be as happy as I would have been if Teddy Bridgewater was there, because I know that the offense would have opened up and he would have had holes if Bridgewater would have played well. But he's still a first rounder. When you look at people past Adrian Peterson, and you know what, let me see if I can pull that up now. When I look at the running backs that falls after him, is there really anybody there that I will be happy about picking over him? Mm-hmm. Probably not. So let me see. Let's see here. Running backs. And I'm not going to do average draft position. Oh, man, they don't look like they updated their rankings. They have Adrian Peterson first.
Dang, yeah, they got to update them rankings because he's.
Let me go to CBS Sports, man. CBS Sports be on it, man. I was on fantasypros.com. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they tripping. But yeah, so I think for me now, Stephon Diggs and Laquan Treadwell, like, you know, before you could take a flyer on Treadwell, and you probably still can, especially if you draft him last. But Stephon Diggs, I think he took a hit. I think he took a hit because he finally had a breakout game, and people were starting to draft him before, because I've done like a number of drafts so far this season. I have like a lot of teams, and Stephon Diggs was Tyler Boyd and Torrey Smith. But Stephon Diggs was sometimes being left on the board. That has changed as the weeks that went on. We're talking about first, second week of preseason. So, but yeah, man, now I don't know what's going to happen with him. Okay, so pretty much everybody still have Adrian Peterson in their top 5. Wow. So they have him over guys like Eddie Lacy, Jamal Charles, who actually is behind what did they say? He's behind in his recovery from his ACL tear. So that's something to keep in mind when you're drafting. I still think you'll take him in the second round because you'll really want him for the later part of the season. But yeah, it's something to keep in mind because anything can go bad. But yeah, they still have him 5th, but he's not going there when you mix in receivers and quarterbacks. So behind Adrian Peterson, and let's see, this is as of 3 today. They got Eddie Lacy, Le'Veon Bell, Jamal Charles, Mark Ingram, and Doug Martin. So you got running backs like that. I probably would take maybe a flyer on Le'Veon Bell over AP if he fell that late to me, because Le'Veon is going in the second round.
Yeah, at least if Bell get picked up, he's gonna get workload immediately in that system.
Right. Yeah, and you may get both. So as a matter of fact, now that I think about it, though, B, you could probably take AP. I don't know, but look, all I'm saying is that he's gonna get work. He's still Adrian Peterson. And I still think if you're getting him in between that 9 to 12 range, I think he's worth the pick. In Dallas, Romo is out. Dak Prescott is the quarterback. Ezekiel Elliott. Do you still like Ezekiel Elliott with the top 8 picks? Sometimes he's going as high as 6.
Yeah, I seen him go. Yep, I seen him go as high as 6. Yeah, I'm always, because Prescott is a rookie as well, right?
Yeah.
Man, see, that's them rookies, man, is always tricky. I mean, because he showed some great signs in preseason that he can throw that ball, and it's not like Dallas Cowboys don't have no cakewalk receivers. You know what I'm saying? So, from tight end to wide receiving core, Dallas is pretty good at that position. So this is all about if the quarterback can make the defense respect them enough to where they're gonna have to respect the running back, because you can't put 8 in the box you're not going to put 8 in the box against that dude. So I just think, and then let's not forget, Dallas do have a good offensive line. Let's not forget about that. So I think Elliott, I think he's still going to be in that 6 through 8 range, 6 through 9 range, I guess, as far as first round draft pick. That's just from a general perspective. I know how I am about taking rookie running backs, man, especially in the first round. But I think just a general fantasy purpose, I think if someone want to start off with a running back, they pick in 7th, 8th, or 9th, you can go ahead and scoop him. I think his value doesn't drop any more than it has since that Romo was out. So I don't think it's that awful.
Okay, so Antonio Brown, Beckham, Julio Jones, Gurley, David Johnson are gone. You're left with Elliott, Miller, AJ Green, Gronk, Peterson, Hopkins, and Bryant.
You didn't say Gurley.
You have the 6th pick. Who you taking?
You didn't say Ty Gurley. If Ty Gurley's sitting there, I'm getting.
Yeah, Ty Gurley. You already know the first 5 are gone. After David Johnson, and this just after David Johnson, here's who you have left on the board: Elliott, Lamar Miller, Green, Gronk, AP, Hopkins.
I'm probably getting. It's either between Miller, Hopkins, or AP. One of them 3.
You like Hopkins over AJ Green this year?
Slightly.
Okay.
Slightly, yeah.
Even with Lamar Miller, they're knowing he's going to get more work because Lamar Miller is no Alfred Blue.
No, he's not.
So there may be touchdowns off the board. There may be targets off the board for him. AJ Green, we know that they like to throw the ball a lot, and he's Andy Dalton's number 1 guy.
Yep.
I don't know. I think for me, if I would take Elliott because I know they got to run the ball in Dallas. I know they got the offensive line, and I know they really don't want to take a lot of chances with Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
So I like Lamar Miller a lot this year. I really do. And in some drafts, he's actually falling pretty late, which is good.
He's going as late as 11th, 12th.
Mm-hmm.
In the first round. He's if you got that 10th, 11th pick, it's a great possibility that you'll get him.
Yeah. On top of we'll get to that later. But yeah, so I think I may take a flyer on him, man. Like in some drafts, because I wanted to get different players.
Yeah.
Like I haven't. But if he falls to me with like the 8th or 9th pick, I'm taking Elliott. I'm gonna roll the dice. I'll take Elliott and go from there. But so I already know your answer. You're gonna take AP over Ezekiel Elliott?
Yep. I'm gonna take him. AP's
you don't like rookie running backs, huh?
Yeah, man. It's just with certain NFL players, it's just hard to take the grass. Can they make that transition from college to the pros real good, man? So it's just that's scary.
That offensive line, though, man.
Yeah, you're right. You was 100% right, and I know that offensive line they gonna create them holes for him. They definitely gonna create that space for him.
But I slightly I don't disagree with your take on it. If it's Lamar Miller, because I know Lamar Miller is going to catch the ball and he's going to get his rushing attempts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're comparable. I think Elliott and Lamar Miller at that 6th spot, I don't think you can miss either way unless there's an injury.
Okay.
What about Dez Bryant? Because I did a draft today and I had a chance to – so I took Elliott and Dez Bryant was sitting right there on the turn.
Coming back?
Yeah, on the turn. And I know he's like top – let me pull it up. Like he was like top 5 or something like that in some rankings. 5, 6. I'm looking at 6, and he may have been moved down because of the injury to Tony Romo. But I had a chance to get him a top 5, 6 receiver at the 12th, 13th spot. No, it was on the turn, so he was coming back.
Right.
So we're talking about 2nd round value for a number 1, a 1st round pick. But I didn't take him. Part of the reason why is because I already had Elliott, and I don't want to have two.
You don't have to be, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to have 2 Cowboys.
So who you took over him then?
I think I went with who did I go with? I think it may have been Jamal Charles. I'm gonna pull it up and see.
Okay.
Pull it up and see.
But yeah, I mean that makes sense because like we discussed before, man, running backs is pretty thin this year. So if you can't get them, you better get them while you can, because you do not want to end up with no third string back by the time you wait to the 6th, 7th, 8th round to draft a running back. So I can see why you made that pick. I can see why you.
You know what? That's happened to me. I've had to take like Giovanni Bernard. I was stuck with Giovanni Bernard and Rashard Jones.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, man. You don't feel good going in week to week with those guys as your starter backs. Like these are my guys. So yeah, man. Yeah, I agree with you getting that Jamal Charles. If he was sitting there, get him. You need that at least one. You need at least one horse. You could probably manage in a waiver wire and picking up another beast running back in the waiver wire.
Yeah, you're right. All right, anyway, so let's get into the topics. Using the waiver wire strategy. So, B, you want to go ahead and kick that off while I look up this team?
Okay, so, I don't know if I said this on our last year's show, but, besides drafting, you can't just draft a team. This is for all you newbies or, you're fresh, guy. I'm not really talking to the veteran guys like you and myself and everything, Ken, but to some of the, the first year, second year guys, waiver wire is almost just as important as drafting, because we all know as the season goes on, you got injuries, you got certain guys that's getting benched, you got other guys that's out playing other starters for more production, that's going to be sitting on that waiver wire. And the waiver wire is, of course, for those that don't know, is guys that you probably released or guys that you didn't draft in the draft, and they have the pool of players that didn't get drafted into waiver wire. So as the season goes, you got, and most leagues have waiver claims. I've never played in a fantasy league that didn't have waiver claims. So most leagues have waiver claims. Of course, the lower your number is, the better a chance of you getting that player if the waiver claims come up. So, like, for example, if I got waiver claim number, if I'm going for a player, if Ken going for Jason Tammy and he got the 4 waiver wire and I got number 2, I'm the higher rank. So that means once the waiver comes in, which usually comes in on Wednesday mornings, I'm gonna get that player if I put in my claim. That's only if I put in my claim. So that's how the waiver wire works. But also another thing for all you newbies, please do not jump after week 1. I've seen this mistake happen so many times. Week 1 of football, we sitting there watching football, and week 1, you see a no-name guy or a guy you never heard of have a amazing week 1 for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then all of a sudden you gloating, you going crazy. You going and you use your high waiver claim on that guy, and then he stinks up the rest of the season. I've seen this happen to a lot of people before, and I'm pretty sure Ken's seen this happen before too.
It's happened to me before.
Don't let week 1 get your excitement up. Save your waiver claims. And this happened to me last year and the year before. Like, I've held on to my waiver claims and certain guys got hurt. Oh, Ken, you remember this? Prime example. Jamal Charles got hurt. And I had like the number 1 waiver claim. We all knew Chantrick West was about to be the horse. And I was the number 1 waiver guy. And I knew everybody was going to go after him as soon as Jamal Charles went down. And I picked him up. And he was on my squad. And he was putting up numbers. This is a prime example. Try to hang on to your waiver wires. Don't get so happy after week 1. Don't get so happy after week 1, because there's a good percentage that player is not going to hold up. Now, if it was an injury or something, if Jordy Nelson went out, well, say if week 1 and God forbid he's on my team, Jordy Nelson goes down, then yeah, you're going to go after, what's the other, Devontae Adams and who else is the wide receivers over there at Green Bay? I know
Randall Cobb.
He's going to be drafted, though. Randall Cobb going to already be drafted.
Oh, okay. Devontae Adams, and he starts with the J.
Yeah, so like guys like them might be on the waiver wire, but guess what? If Jordy Nelson go out, players gonna go for him. Just hang on to your waiver wires, man. Do not freak out in week 1. Don't freak out in week 1. Just ride it out. Trust your squad. Trust your draft. and play it out, man. Don't be so thrown off with the first bad chick that walk past. It's gonna be plenty of them that's gonna walk past that's gonna look bad as hell. So until you get your pickings and you get you get the slimmings out. But wait, do not jump at the first bad chick that you see that flirts with you. Please do not. Hold on to it. It's gonna pay off in the long run because I'm telling you, can attest to this. It's gonna be some guys. Either it's gonna be from injury or it's gonna be guys that's gonna break out. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna have a breakout. Their role gonna increase on that squad. So just hold off, man. Please hold off.
I completely agree, and that's how I play it. Because if you have confidence in your team, you can afford to not get the third receiver, the slot receiver that happened to score 3 touchdowns that week. Right. The odds of that happening every week from there on out is slim.
Thank you.
The best way to play waivers are for injuries. Yep. And you want to shark, as you say, be sharking on the waiver wire.
Got to be sharking.
And you know what? And even if a guy is scheduled to miss like 1 or 2 games and his backup is there, if it's 1 or 2 games, it's probably not worth picking him up either. Yep. Because the starter will return. Now, you could probably use that to negotiate a trade if the guy is desperate. But that depends on the makeup of his team and the makeup of your team. But more importantly, especially if you got a fragile player like a Jamal Charles and you didn't take Spencer Ware as his backup, or Adrian Peterson, you didn't take Jared McKinnon, or Jeremy Hill, you didn't take Giovanni Bernard, which Giovanni Bernard won't be on the board anyway. Devontae Booker and CJ Anderson, or Christian Michael with Thomas Rawls. If you didn't take one of those guys, then you may be in a situation where you need to make a trade to get that guy if somebody picks him up, because you don't have anybody on the bench that you can fill in. But the main thing is that use the waiver wire as a weapon. And having waiver priority is extremely beneficial. If you go back to what B said with Jamal Charles and Shakandrick West, once Charles went down, we all knew he was done. Once AP was done, he's done. You need to be able to get these guys. And if you have these guys that don't have the backup, then you probably need to wait. So, no, man, like draft well, draft backups, and go from there. Now, the situation that I'll be in, because of the way a lot of my drafts have went so far, is that I'm not taking a second tight end and I'm not taking a second quarterback. So throughout the season, I may have to make a move to, stream a tight end or a quarterback. But that's fine, because I know that in some of the leagues I'm playing in, people are going to be all over the waiver wire, especially after week 1 and week 2.
Man.
Chill out, pump your brakes.
I see it every single year. Maybe without the exception of our league, the real NFL, they don't really go too crazy like that. But yes, I've seen in other leagues when I played with a couple of amateurs, I'm like, after week 1, they hold like half of their squad is different. I'm like, dude, you didn't trust your draft. You did not trust the players you drafted.
Yeah,
you freaked out.
And if you're smart and some of these guys react, you may get a guy that they dropped.
Oh, yep.
Good point. Yep. You want to get that.
Man, every time someone else's trash will be your treasure. Like, that's another thing to think about too when you're dealing with waiver wire. You see someone dropping the guy, you like, wait a minute, he dropped him because he had one bad week. Oh, shit, I'm about to get him, and you get him, and he ball out for you, and then that player looking stupid, he offer you a trade on a sneak tip, like, hey man, you want to give me da back? Like, no, like you dropped him because you got so happy over the first bad bitch that winked at you, and you dropped him and picked up somebody else, and now you going crazy. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I cannot stress enough. Save your waiver claims, man. Save them.
So speaking of trades, B, the next topic is, when is it time to trade and how do you execute the proper trade? I'll kick this off, man. I'm poor at trades.
Okay.
I don't like trading. If I draft a guy or if I draft a player, I want to keep him. And sometimes, especially when you're giving me a 2-for-1 and I don't like the 2, or 3-for-2 or whatever,
right?
Like, I'm always looking at what I'm getting in return for the big guy that I'm giving up, because more than likely for me, all of my other positions are really, really solid. But say, for instance, in this league that I'm in now, where I have Giovanni Bernard as my second running back, and Ryan Matthews is my first running back. So the guy, the guy actually took a lot of running backs, and he's offered me a good running back in return for one of my receivers. I have Brandon Cooks, DeAndre Hopkins, and Dante Moncrief. My expectations for Moncrief is that he's going to play really, really well this year. I have Kevin White and Sharp on my bench. If you give me a good offer for a running back, especially a borderline 1, I might take borderline 1 or a 2. I might take that so I don't have to start Giovanni Bernard every week.
Yeah.
So it depends on the makeup of your team. And I'll be willing to part with Giovanni Bernard depending on I'll be willing to part with Hopkins or Cooks. Mainly Cooks. If you want Cooks, I'll give you Cooks.
Right.
Because I think I can go on the waiver and find somebody to replace him to give me like wide receiver 3 value. But for the most part, I'm not offering trades. I'm rejecting trades. I'm not taking trades, but I understand why trades are made. In other leagues where I'm playing Roto, I would do a trade there if I need like steals if it's baseball or blocks if it's basketball or something like that. I'll be more liable to make a trade. But unless I'm in a bad situation, like that one year when I lost Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
Oh, you could have got anybody for me because I was desperate.
Yep.
So, that's how I normally do trades. I'm not really a trade guy. I want to actually get into trading a little bit more, but my thing is I'm always concerned about what I'm losing instead of what I'm gaining in return.
Yeah.
And that's just me. What about you?
Yeah, I've traded with Meech.
Whatever you want. Oh, sorry.
You said what?
Oh, my bad. I was fussing. Go ahead.
Going. I don't see your screen.
I thought I had the mic muted.
I think you turned your camera off instead because you're not showing up. But okay, yeah, now your microphone is mute. But with trades, I'm kind of like you. I don't really go into thinking like, because like you, when I draft my team, I'm looking at my team and I'm happy with my team. I'm like, oh, this is the guys I want. I like it, But I hate when guys try to trade and try to like get over on me, like sending me 2 bench players for like asking for like a superstar starter. I'm like, you really think I'm gonna? These are guys are like 3 on the depth chart, and you want Calvin Johnson for these 2 bums. Like, it's like, come on. Like, my thing is, if you're gonna make a trade, I always look at it like, and this may sound very unselfish, but like, I like to look at it how it's gonna help both of us. Like, okay, look, I know you need some wide receivers, so look, I give you Calvin Johnson, but look, I'm hurting. This dude is injured, and this other running back has been subpar. If I give you Calvin Johnson and Blase for, say if Lamar Miller is balling this year for Lamar Miller, you still got, 2 decent backs that's serviceable, and I'm giving you a wide receiver because you heard that wide receivers. Like, I'm looking at situations where we can help each other. Like, that's how I go into trades. Like, hey man, how can we help each other out? You know what I'm saying? Like, look, won't I give you this? Okay, you hurting at this position, so won't I help you with this? Or, I got this backup quarterback that's putting up some good numbers. You need a QB because that dude sucked. And, I can give you this QB if you can toss me this. Certain stuff like that. That's the only time I would like really be interested in doing a trade, just if it's a way that it can help both of us out. But for the most part, just like you, I'm like, nah, I'm straight on trades because and then like you, I'm always worried, like, what if I trade this guy and 2 weeks later he's out for the season? I've seen that happen. I've seen that happen with some folks. And it is not their fault. We're not psychics and nothing like that. But yeah, you made trade with someone and you like, yeah, I got me a good person. 3 weeks later, they out for 6 weeks, and you like, damn, it's like looking real crazy. So I always worry about that when it comes to trading, but yeah, like you, when I get my team, I'm so confident and cocky. I see my team, I'll be like, oh yeah, they didn't let me draft this squad. I'm about to run rip shop up in this squad, in this league. So I'm always confident, man. By the time week 4, week 5 hit, I would say, yeah, if you are going to trade kind of early. Don't wait till week 8 when you want to trade, like say if Hopkins don't really live up to the bill this year or whatever, and he's ranked high. Say like he's averaging like 8 points a week, 9 points a week, and then someone want to try to trade you for Antonio Brown. Like don't wait till when you see what the player's doing to try to trade. Like if you are going to trade, do it early in the season before you really, like if you say, oh man, that dude balling, he might kind of ball out this year. Let me offer him, this player for that guy. I think that guy gonna ball, whatever. Do that. Don't wait till week 9 and you know what your guys are about and then try to make some trades. That's stupid. Unless, like I said, unless it's for something to help you out and you getting something in return as well as giving something in return.
Or if somebody drafted a player that you really wanted and you offer them equal value. Yep. I think in that particular instance, it's okay to do a trade like that.
Yep. So I've seen it happen before because I know what the guy do. He loves Aaron Rodgers, and the dude was like, "All right, well, I give you." This was the time when like Drew Brees was like throwing like 5,000-yard seasons and stuff like that, and the dude really liked Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers was balling too. He was like, "Look, all right, I swap you Aaron Rodgers for Drew Brees. All right, cool, bam, like no harm, no foul." Like that dude really liked Aaron Rodgers, and he was like, "You drafted my guy. I give you Drew Brees for him." It was no foul, no harm. Like they both was happy, and both players bought out still.
All right, so going back real quick before we get into lineups. So instead of taking Dez Bryant, I took Mike Evans. I'm gonna tell you where I messed up though, B.
Okay.
And I still regret this decision. I should have taken Jamal Charles because I would have had Ezekiel Elliott, Jamal Charles. I probably, the way this draft was going, would still have Keenan Allen and Alshon Jeffrey. I wouldn't have had Mike Evans, but I could have gotten Moncrief or somebody else as a third wide receiver in his place and just went with Keenan Allen and Alshon Jeffries. But, man, you don't want to see me at that running back spot. But I was concerned about the injury. I didn't follow my own advice, and I went away. I went with Mike Evans. So, but yeah, I messed that completely up. And if that's the case, I should have taken Dez Bryant. So I was trying to replace, instead of Dez, I was trying to find somebody that's as good as Dez, but isn't Dez. You know what I'm saying? And I reached for Mike Evans. It was a bad decision. Bad decision. So anyway, and running backs, as we've seen so far this year, as are flying off the board. Anyway, so lineups, week to week. All right, so for me with lineups, and keep in mind, I've been playing since 97, 98, a very, very, very long time. I have never played the matchups, B. Never. I've always just, it's gut feeling. And sometimes it's like, yo, these are my guys. Right. And I'm going to put my guys out there that I pick to win. Like, and the only way I would play the matchups is if I need to stream a player or pick a player up for a bye week. That's it. But whenever I play the matchups, it never works out for me. But one of these teams that I have, I am going to try to play the matchups to see what the record would be. But yeah, excuse me, when it comes to me setting my lineup, I got my top guys, and then, that's it. Like if I got guys on my, like that guy on my bench has to be balling out, or he has to be an injured running back. I mean, a running back that's taking the place of a number one guy that's injured. That's the only way I'm probably would consider playing him. But in some of these leagues, I don't have a flex spot. So at that point, I'm taking out an RB2 that I probably got at extreme value because of depending on the draft. Say, for instance, if I had Jamal Charles, if Le'Veon Bell goes down and I had D'Angelo Williams sitting on my bench, I'm not benching Charles in favor of D'Angelo Williams just because he's a starter now. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So I don't play the matchups like that. Now, injury reports are different. Most of the leagues that I've played in don't have IR spots, which we need to add an IR spot, man, in the league. So I think when it comes to injuries, again, you got to draft well. You have to draft with depth. That way, if it's 1 or 2 weeks, you can try and hold out until your guy come back. But for me, when it comes to week, I don't play matchups. I just don't. It hasn't worked out for me.
Well, I can kind of beg to differ a little bit. I kind of agree with you. Of course, your guys, you got your guys that play week in and week out. But I wish Mitch was in here or he can see this because he knows. I've made some decisions where people was like, why are you playing him over him? You know, it's like, look at the defense they playing. They gave up, you know, like this many points to running backs every single week. And then I play them. And then next thing you know, that dude will ball out and they be like, damn, B, you must be over there being Miss Cleo or whatever. I'm like, look, I just saw that matchup. It was like super obvious. And like the guy on that bench was playing decent like every week. He wasn't balling out, but he was playing pretty, you know, decent. I kept looking at his points. I'm like, you know what? He going against this weak defense. Every running back, whether they was weak or good, was balling out against that defense. So I kind of be like, you know what? Bam, switch it out. Boom. And they'd be like, damn, I can't believe you did that. And I just be like, yeah, I know. And then it's like that gamble. Like I take that chance. And sometimes it's been a couple of times where it didn't pay off for me that well, but yeah, kind of. I'm like 50-50 on that, man. Sometimes if those defenses are not they giving up a lot to these players, and especially if that player I got on the bench or that I'm benching is a starter that they're going to get a lot of looks. Hey, I might bench, you know, Lamar Miller and play Latavius Murray, and because he's going against a weak defense or something like that. Yeah, man. And especially if they're going against like a top ranked rushing defense for that week, because there's been times where this is when Seattle was shutting folks down. Like my starting running back, like my first round draft pick running back was going against Seattle. I benched him. Played the bench. That starter that I benched only had like 2 points. And, you know, maybe the guy I played in place on probably got like 8 points. But, hey, that's better than 2 points that not have been sitting with. You know what I'm saying? Because they playing against a top-notch rush defense. Sometimes those defensive matchups, man, and them secondary matchups, that helps. That makes a difference sometimes, man. And I know it hurts for you to bench your, you know, Lamar Millers and your Adrian Petersons and your Elliott's of the world, you know, for another guy. I know it may not look right, but sometimes, man, with them matchups, it helps, man. It really do.
Yeah, I've seen you do it. I've seen you succeed with it, and I've seen you fail with it. And you're a braver guy than I am. Yep. Because when you've done it, yep, I'm looking like, damn, he playing him? Just like you just said. And I'm like, man, I don't know about that one. Yep. And yeah, like you said, sometimes it works out for you, but me benching, I understand the Murray against running defense, and it's very tempting. Oh, Lamar Miller against a top rated run defense. Mm-hmm. I just always have a feeling like that guy will somehow find the end zone. Mm-hmm. As tantalizing as that may be with Murray, like the only way, like your scenario is a good one, because at that point I may consider it, because you essentially have like comparable running backs to a certain degree. Yep. Like Murray is no slouch, and they're going to give him a lot of work this year. They're talking about that. Yep. But for me, man, I get nervous, man. I start thinking, man, what if? And I don't want to miss out on that big game. But it can go either way. Sometimes it can backfire. But yeah, you're good at that. I just suck at it. I'm not good at that. But I hear so many other, like I listen to a lot of podcasts and read articles and stuff like that as I prepare for the week. And I see people talk up matchups, and sometimes those every time they talk up that matchup, it never happens. I won't say always, but you know, there's certain scenarios where it does. But you know, but like I said, I'm gonna try it out this year and see if that helps, because it may be something I can add to my strategy. But I've been extremely successful without it. All right, so we got about 10 minutes left. Our draft is next week. We have the Dead End Sports draft coming up, and I got to set up 2 more drafts. We tend to draft late because we want to make sure that who's hurt is hurt, right, and that we can draft accordingly. So when it comes to preparing for the draft, B, like, how do you conduct your draft? Do you use cheat sheets? Like,
yeah,
do you go by the
this is what I do. Okay. So this is like a superstition thing for me. I mean, call me crazy, but I have to have jazz playing. For some reason, when I have jazz playing while I'm drafted, I just feel at ease. I feel at ease, man. I grab some Herbie Hancock or something like that, man, and I just let the record play, and I gotta have some music while I'm drafting. Then I wish I had it with me. I think it's upstairs. I have my old school loose leaf sheet of paper, like a little pad paper, and I already have like about a list of 20 guys who I'm like looking at, like who I'm really aiming to get. I have my list right here, and then I'll probably start putting it on the queue list in the actual draft. So I look at my list, make sure I get my guys drafted up, like who, especially if I know where I'm picking, I'd be like, hey, cool, I got this guy, got them lined up. Then once it goes, it just starts. I got my jazz playing, and I got my music going, and I got my board right here, and I got my players queued up, and I'm going at it, man. I'm going at it. And I also got my guys listed as like my plan A, plan B, plan C type of dudes. Like if this guy's taken in this round, and I'm picking this guy. If this guy's taken, I'm gonna get that guy. And then after that, I'm free falling at that point. But yeah, I have a list that I have on my loose leaf sheet of paper that I have also in my queue list on the draft board with my jazz playing.
Wow, I play no music.
I gotta have. I gotta have.
Yeah, I gotta.
I gotta have.
That's crazy. You're playing jazz though. Wow. I guess it could help you kind of like, process things. Yeah. Man, like when I'm doing a draft, and I've been doing as many as 2 or 3 drafts at one time this season, and I like to just sit and concentrate, man, and think and prepare and try to figure out who's going to do what. And I'll look at, like on CBS, they give you a breakdown on the roster grids. They do this with Yahoo as well. And I'm always looking at trying to see who's going to pick who and figure out at what point do I need to take a guy that I really want. I don't use cheat sheets. Like when I first started out with fantasy sports, and I won't say I was a newbie, but when I was really like all the way in, and I'm all the way in now, but I've just been playing so long, I have a lot of experience. I don't have to do this anymore. I just kind of keep up with the news. But back in the day, B, like I would go to Books A Million and or Borders, and I would buy the magazines. And I would actually use the magazines. B, I would read that thing from cover to cover.
What?
And I would just I would just buy, and I think I would buy 2 or 3 of them. And this was back in the 90s, so this was a long time ago. Yeah. The internet did not exist. So the only way you got your fantasy news and your cheat sheets was in those magazines. So that's what I would do. But over time, man, when you've been drafting as long as I have, you kind of have a feel for how this thing is going to go. Now, what I will say is this. If you're new or you haven't been playing as long as I have or B have, here's some advice. Go by tiers. Rank your players by tiers, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, obviously. And look at that when you're drafting. Because sometimes, depending on how your lineup is set, that tier 2 running back that you're looking at, you may need to pass on him in favor of the tier 1 wide receiver. Mm-hmm. Because that tier 1 wide receiver has more value than the tier 2 running back, and you could probably get another tier 2 running back that's comparable with him. So if people are taking quarterbacks early, people are taking tight ends early. I've seen instances where people were taking freaking defenses. At that point, you can, based on your tiers, snatch guys off the board. Like I said, I've been doing this so long, I kind of have an idea, so I don't really need the tiers. So I can, in my head, they're already calculated. And if I don't get like a number 1 running back, or though anywhere like the top 8, I think are guys that I want to get. After that, it's really whatever, man, because you're really in the running RB2 status, and you can get some guys that's touchdown, depending on the guys that catch a lot of passes. But when I'm drafting, I don't use cheat sheets. I have to keep it silent, and I'm just sitting there. I'm just looking at the board and putting players in my queue, and then go from there. And typically, what I'll do is the way the drafts have been going so far is that running backs are still flying off the board. And a lot of analysts, CBS Sports, have been pushing this, is that receiver, because of what happened last year. Casual people are taking these running backs. And so you have to be careful with that, because if running backs are flying off the board, man, you might get stuck with some boo-boo. Because I'm seeing leagues, and some of these drafts, people are taking 4 or 5 running backs. And they're not taking backups. They're taking 4 or 5 starters, no matter who they are. So for me, so you got to be mindful of how the league is drafting. And if people are taking running backs like that, at that point, you might as well, if you already know you're going to get boo-boo, get you some solid wide receivers, maybe get Aaron Rodgers or Cam, and then build your team out that way. I think you can wait on tight ends this year. You can wait on some receivers this year. Like if you're in a 3-receiver league, you can get good value late. You can even get good value at that second receiver spot, because you may need to get 2 running backs that will produce on a week-to-week basis. But keep in mind, you need to get handcuffs. But there are some leagues where I am going to try a cheat sheet. But, man, I can tell you, man, when it just becomes too much looking at that sheet and marking players off, and then looking back and I'm like, oh, that's just too much.
It ain't bad. It ain't that bad. It's actually good.
I guess, man.
My list is not long at all. It's not like I'm looking at a page. Like I said, I make my list at about a good 20 to 25 players. Because by that point, you picking in the you off in the late rounds anyway. By the time all those guys on my short list is gone, So no, it's not that bad.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I think like when I got excited about the draft, like I printed out some cheat sheets, and then they're still in my book bag because I never pull them out. But I've always been fascinated with the idea, because I hear people talk about it all the time, and I understand the logic behind it, and it makes a lot of sense, because what it does is it removes a little bit of emotion from it, because you already have an idea of who you want. Like, there are players in this draft, like every single draft, there are guys that I want to have on my team. And like, I will have that in my head of guys that I like to draft this year, and then everybody else is guys that I would settle for. So that's kind of, how I operate. If there are guys that I really, really want, then I'm definitely looking to get those guys. And sometimes, I can see the value of having, but you typically know who they are. But I know where cheat sheets can help you at is in sleepers and picking guys really, really late.
Yeah.
And they definitely come in handy in fantasy basketball.
Yeah. That's why I have my sheet of guys, man. Like, I got guys who I just be like, okay, bam. Because I was doing one, I periscoped, and I had to get off because I had my list and I had my other loose leaf sheet of paper that I was going to use, and I had to get off the phone because I had to look at my note thing on here that I had put on my sheet of paper. And I'm like, I gotta stop periscoping, y'all. I about to draft. So yeah, I mean, it's crazy, man. It gets thick up in there. It gets real in them streets, man. It gets real.
So let me ask you this: when you're drafting, since we're talking about drafting now, do you take 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends?
I do. I normally do take, like when I draft my second quarterback, it'd be like, round 14, 15 or something like that. I do look for like a backup, just someone to have, just in case my guy go out down or like that. But tight ends, I find them on the waiver wires or something. Or, whenever my tight end has his bye week or get injured or something, I pick somebody up from the waiver wire. But yeah, quarterbacks, I do normally draft 2 quarterbacks in the draft because I like to have like at least like an insurance. Like, okay, if this guy get like I got Big Ben in my league. I got Big Ben and Antonio Brown. So like if Big Ben gets hurt, I got Matt Ryan. I mean, Matt Ryan's he's for a regular season, he's doable. You know what I'm saying? And plus, if Julio Jones is supposed to be eating so much this season, who's throwing on the ball? Matt Ryan. Mm-hmm. So that's like a little insurance I have. So that's the reason. That's my reason why I draft 2 quarterbacks. I know some people don't. Some people kind of do the same way how I treat my tight ends. Like I just get them once they're available on the waiver wire, if they have a bye week or something like that. So But yeah, that's how I do with tight ends. But QBs, I normally draft 2 QBs.
Yeah, I don't. So far in any of the drafts I've been in, I haven't drafted a second quarterback unless I drafted Tom Brady. And I just need a guy that's going to give me 4. And then after that, it's on and popping. I don't draft second tight ends. Like I'm trying to get, a lot of these sleepers, guys with high upside and depending on and handcuffs for certain running backs or guys that could be great if another running back get hurt. Because the way I see it, I mean, when you look at the way, like I just need a guy to get me through bye week. So you're looking at guys like, this is not great, but yeah, Matt Ryan may be there on the waiver wire. Brock Osweiler may be there. RG3 may be there. Who else may be on the waiver wire that you can get? Fitzpatrick. So in certain situations, there'll be guys that you can just pull off the draft to fill in on that spot. And by the time you need him, especially if you're looking at the 8th or 9th or 10th bye week, you'll have an idea of who's playing and who isn't.
Yep.
Where this has hurt me, though, and I think it hurt me last year when I had David Johnson. And I had to drop David Johnson to get a backup for that week because there was nobody else that I had that I could drop. And it ended up hurting me. And I knew David Johnson, all reports were saying he was going to be the guy. And I just needed to be patient. I dropped him, couldn't get him back. So you have to be careful, especially if you got that guy, because you may not be able to get him back. And especially if the guy ahead of him is a guy like Andre Ellington. So, for instance, Giovanni Bernard, if he was a starter, yeah, you probably want to get Jeremy Hill as backup. You probably don't want to drop Jeremy Hill. Or it could be the reverse.
I think Hill's the starter. I think he's going to be the starter.
Yeah, but they're going to split time. But you want to have, if possible, both of those guys on your team. Because if one of them get hurt, their value increases significantly. Same thing with TJ Yeldon and Chris Howard. You definitely want to make sure you have both of them. What's another platoon situation that's out there? DeMarco Murray, Derrick Henry.
Yep.
You definitely want to get both of them if you can. Let me see. Who else? Let me see. Look at my draft. Thomas Ross, Christian Michael. I mentioned that before. You definitely want to get both of them. We were telling people in the chat room, Jamal Charles, Spencer Ware. You have to get these guys. Adrian Peterson, Jared McKinnon. You have to get these guys because if you don't, and that guy go down, and the guy behind him is talented enough to take his spot and fill his spot and produce close to his value, you want to make sure you're protected. Yep. And those are the guys that you have to hold on to. And that's what happened to me last year. I had David Johnson, and I had to drop him because I needed a guy, and I couldn't get him back. I probably should have just took the 0 and just took an L for that week. Yep. and lived to fight another day because David Johnson balled out for the rest of the year. And that was the same team, B, that I had Arian Foster on. And I had Arian Foster, Le'Veon Bell, and somebody else. My running backs were murderers. It was like murder row. And they all got hurt. And I was done. I still make the playoffs, but I had no shot at winning the title. And what's the number one reason? What's the goal of playing fantasy football? To win the title.
You win it all. You play to win the game. You play to win a championship. Man, I ain't playing to win in second place and third place.
Yeah. Nah, y'all can keep that. So yeah, at that point, you play for pride. You'll always play for pride. You'll play to spoil people. You'll play to keep the competitive balance of the league intact.
Right.
And hope that you win the title. But if you've been playing for a while, man, you know when it's over. You know when it's over. You just playing so you won't have a losing record and just come back for next year. So anyway, that's gonna do it for us, man. We're gonna go ahead and get out of here real quick. Let me see. No, Joshua, I am not drafting Foster again this year.
Craig, he wants to get in the fantasy league. Craig, for Friday. Craig.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Email deadendsports@gmail.com. and I'll shoot you the invite when I set it up. And I may go ahead and set it up tonight. The reason why it's been delayed so far is that I've been trying to figure out what league to do it on. Like I wanted to do it on CBS Sports because I really like their site. But I'm also looking at ESPN too. Because I want to do something a little bit different this year. We play on Yahoo all the time. So
yeah, my main league is ESPN.
Oh yeah. So I may do it on ESPN this year. I may do one on ESPN and one on CBS Sports. But I think the thing is, like, I don't want people to have to create logins, but I guess it don't really matter. But anyway, to answer Joshua Jones' question with Foster, I like his potential late, like value. I think he'll add a value to your team depending on where you get him, because you know he's going to catch the ball. You know he's a talent, but is he a talent at this point? And Ajayi, has looked pretty bad so far. And I think that's a split situation. So you kind of want to be careful with him. You definitely want to make sure you have a guy that you can rely on each week. In PPR, and I've done a couple of PPR drafts, he has value for sure, because you already know what Foster is about, and that's how he earns his money, man. What do you guys think about taking a running back such as LaShawn McCoy in the second instead of a decent wide receiver in PPR? I think because of the value he gives you catching the ball in addition to running the ball, and B, you can weigh in on here if you want. I think if you got guys, when you say decent wide receiver one, I'm thinking guys like, I don't know,
Allen, Allen.
But Allen gonna catch the rock. Yeah. Maybe like Alshon Jeffrey, because you talk about receptions. Because so I think that, or Decker or Cooks.
Yeah.
Or, guys like that. I think at that point you could probably take a flyer on McCoy because he's probably going to catch 50 passes, and that's good value at that spot. It all really depends, huh?
Especially a PPR league.
Yeah. And it really all depends on who's been drafted. Who did you pick in the first round, and how you decide you want to build out your team. And if you can find wide receiver value that's going to catch a lot of passes late in that draft, sometimes you may be able to get Landry. Like if you think you can get Landry in the third or fourth round, then yeah, you can take McCoy because Landry's going to catch a lot of passes. So you can take a flyer on that. You may not get Keenan Allen though. Let me see if there's another question, and then we can close it out. Oh, second round pick is the 18th. Yeah, you probably want to take McCoy and go ahead and get you a decent running back one that's going to catch.
Do a good, nice wideout later because the wideouts are deep.
Yeah. Jordy Nelson is a solid pick. He fell. He'll ball out. Especially if you get him in like the third or fourth round. I think that's damn good value, especially if you have two elite running backs.
I got him in the third round in my main league, and I was like, ooh.
Man, if you got two running backs to go with that, like two number one running backs,
man,
problem. So, all right. Anyway, yeah. Hey, Joshua said he dropped Devontae Freeman right before he blew up. I should have drafted him. I was thinking about drafting him, and I never did. And I had a feeling because I like Devontae Freeman coming out of Florida State.
Yeah. And
I knew that he had what he had in him. So, and I didn't get him. Yes, human like Button. I said Foster was a top 5. Listen, he got hurt. So you guys can't hold that against me. All right. You can hold Jeremy Hill against me, but you can't hold Foster against me. All right, man. We're going to go ahead and get out of here. Thanks for your questions, man. Hey, be sure to hit us up on Twitter. If you have any other further questions, I'm at KBINGE, KBINGE. B is at BZ430, at BEEZY430. If you can't remember that, just hit at Dead End Sports. You know how to spell that. If you don't, you got bigger problems.
All
And
the accounts in there.
Yeah. And then, just say send this to Ken or B, and we'll get back at you, and then you'll be able to have it from there. So I appreciate you guys watching, and we'll be back next week. Also, I'm still working out the scheduling. I'm trying to definitely do like fantasy football news updates daily. I don't think I'm gonna do them on the channel though, so I'm going to reactivate the podcast. So it'll be easier for me to do like audio clips than to do all this video shit. I'm trying to hold it with my phone and shit and stuff like that. I'm sorry, I'm cursing. Anyway, so make sure you subscribe to Dead End Sports on iTunes to keep up with that. And man, you guys don't have to follow all the stuff that's going on, man. I got you. So that's it, man. Until next week, we out. Peace.
Peace.